All right, Panther fans, hockey fans, how's everybody doing out there today? We are inching closer and closer and closer, less than 3 weeks to the beginning of the season. Do Stu and I a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Lots of new subscribers. Appreciate all of that. I hope all you dog people like hockey. Here we go. So, Stu and I have been counting down the players one by one, and then we did the bottom four of the defense. So, we're going to start now with the forwards. Today's video, just going to go over a little bit of where Alexander Barkov has been and what Stu and I think is coming in the new year for the new season. It's going to be interesting for him because he's without his security blanket, so to speak.
He's without Robin.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. Whenever times get tough, you put those two on a line together and just magic happens. That is one unavoidable consequence of the trade, but business is business. So the first thing I want to do is I've got Barkov's stats page up. I'm going to share that. All right. So here we go. Alexander Barkov's getting ready to start his 10th season. Incredible,
right?
Right. I mean,
mind blowing.
And let me make sure I'm getting this right. 27 years old. 27 years old, getting ready to start his 10th season. And I've looked up a couple of other things, some comparable players and non-comparable players, but a couple points that I want to make. First thing right off the bat is last season, and Stu, this is where I want you to chime in, and I'm curious as to what your opinion is to why. Last season was clearly, points-wise, and especially if you look at the shot percentage, 18.2, almost 20% of his shots went in. He had the games where he was hurt, but by far and away, he would have blasted through 100 points last year if he would have stayed healthy. So I'm curious, Stu, take it from there on what you think went on last year.
Well, I mean, if you look at his season by season, he's only had one season where he played a full 82 games.
Yeah, that was one of my other points. Yep.
So I'm not going to say he's injury prone, but we all know that he's played through injuries. And I think in the latter part of the year and the playoffs, he was playing through some injuries. He just didn't look like, the dominating Barkov that we all know and love. Now, given that, he definitely would have had over 100 points for sure. 67 games. I didn't realize I think he missed 13 games in a row. He had that one stretch.
Yeah, it was 3 weeks.
Yeah. So so let's just forget about what happened in the past, because there's no sense, I mean, we could talk about it, but it's not going to do anything about what's coming up this season. So just like Ekblad, the number one important thing for Barkov is to stay healthy or not have any major injuries.
Right.
And we know there's going to be bumps and bruises, but, we can't afford to have him miss 3 weeks or whatever, even though we did well during those 3 weeks.
Well, the thing about it is you bring up Ekblad, and I actually have his page up because, when people talk about the team, they think, oh, well, when Ekblad gets his annual injury. But the reality is this is Ekblad now. Ekblad has played 82 games twice and 81 games in his rookie season. And where Barkov has only played one full season and only played more than 70 games 2 other times. So the reality of it is, like you said, not going to call him injury prone, but the reality is Barkov has been more hurt than Ekblad in entirety there. Now, the other thing that last year, this number over here, his faceoffs have been consistently climbing until last year. He was almost at 57%, which brings me to that's Claude Giroux. That's Claude Giroux. And in Claude Giroux's full 10th season, because I'm not going to count over here where he played 2 games, but in his full 10th season, 58, almost 59%. So going back to Barkov, to me, I think it would be smart to try to really start to take advantage of that. In other words, last year when we got Giroux, it was okay, we're going to let Giroux take these faceoffs so that Barkov could have these open shots. Well, if we could get, when we get Duclair back, so to speak, all right, when he comes back, or if we could get somebody, on the appropriate side of him and and use Barkov in that role. Obviously, he takes most of the faceoffs, but the point being that his ability is approaching the level where it could be a significant advantage. You see what I'm saying?
Well, again, we shouldn't expect to clear back until right around the end of the season. Probably, if we need his cap, then he's not playing the whole regular season. And right. I do think that when he comes back, it's going to be interesting to see where he slots in. I mean, one would think he would automatically go back to Barkov and Verhaeghe because they've played together, but by that time, Barkov might, who knows? Again, this is the unknown. Right. Who knows who's going to be with Barkov? Does Maurice shake it up and put two completely different wingers on, like Tkachuk and somebody else? Or does he leave him with Verhaeghe? That's probably, where most of us would think that he would keep Verhaeghe and Barkov together, but
well, in a perfect world, it would be spectacular. Just like with Huberdeau, it'd be great to be able to make that top heavy line with Barkov, Tkachuk, and Verhaeghe, but missing Duclair, that's going to have it's going to have an effect there, obviously, of, well, now we might want to look at a more balanced lineup, because if you put all that firepower on the top line, I mean, there's guys that can fill in on that second line, but without Duclair, I'm not so sure that I want that line out there, that top heavy, because the other part to that is there's going to be the inclination and the temptation to overplay that line. And we've seen before where, Barkov tends to wear down. He does tend to wear down. I don't know if it's more than most other players. Maybe we're just hyper focused on him, but he does tend to wear down towards the end of the season into the playoffs, where he just doesn't look like the same guy that we saw during the regular season.
And also the opposition mugs him in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They don't let him do the things he does in the regular season. So my gut feeling is that Bennett and Tkachuk are going to be together. So that takes care of that. That's my gut feeling. I could be wrong, but I'm basing that on, their past history, chemistry together, blah, 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 but one never knows. Right. I think even though the Lundell-Reinhart combination in my gut is the way to go, I think they might try moving Reinhart back on the top line. With Verhaeghe or somebody else. I have a feeling, I don't know why, but I have a feeling Verhaeghe's not going to be on that top line with Barkov. Well, and I have a feeling either Cousins or White are going to be on the wing on that top line.
Well,
again, I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of speculating based on a couple of factors.
Right.
We'll see.
Well, in my season preview, I actually did have White up there because he's on the right and Verhaeghe's left. So that was actually what I figured would happen to start things off. The other part with Barkov, and I want to get your opinion here, is the whole leadership captain thing. So now we've known what Barkov has been all of these years, and there's been the criticism of him in certain circles.
Just say it.
Well,
it's certain say what everybody else.
I was searching for the word. In certain circumstances, there's been criticism of him, but now you've got like a trifecta of things that have hit him. they traded Huberdeau, so he knows anybody can get traded. We've got the new coach, and now here comes Tkachuk, who, on a lot of teams would be captain material.
Absolutely.
Right. So my hope, I'm just going to throw the energy out there that if anything's ever going to wake Barkov up, piss off the kid, and make him get to that one more level, this would be it. What do you think?
I 110% agree with you. Took the words right out of my mouth. His best friend's been traded. He's got a lot of proof.
Yeah.
The fact that Zito traded Huberdeau, I mean, who would have ever thought? I mean, you put 3 guys on the Panthers will never trade list.
Right.
And that's Barkov, Huberdeau, and Ekblad. And one of them got traded.
Yeah.
Which should send a message to the other 2 guys like, hey, you guys didn't step up and deliver.
Right.
And I got rid of one of you.
Yeah.
Not to say I'm going to get rid of you if you don't produce, but this is your wake-up call.
Oh, yeah.
Especially to Barkov, because he is the captain.
Right.
And, we can argue back and forth all day long. I mean, I think most of us are in agreement that Barkov should not be captain. There's a lot of pressure that goes with wearing that C.
Yeah.
Besides producing, goals and assists. So the fact is, as of the making of this video, he is still our captain. I don't think they're going to take it away from him. The only way I would see him not being captain is if he goes to management and says, I don't want to be captain, but that rarely happens, but it happens.
Yeah.
Tkachuk is the guy that I'm looking at. Tkachuk is the guy that I'm looking at right now to, I'm not going to say mentor Barkov, but maybe get in his ear a little bit.
Well, he talked about that. Sorry, he talked about that to your point, in his press conference. He kind of alluded to the fact that everybody Barkov's not really the real vocal leader, but Tkachuk felt like he could help Barkov and almost kind of be like a 2-headed captain thing, where Barkov is one way and Tkachuk is another way. There's no way around it that that kid's going to have leadership skills when he's who was it? Was it Ekblad that he texted and said we're going to win multiple cups? Was that who it was? So when he's doing that, yeah, because Ekblad was disappointed about Uyghur being traded, and Tkachuk texted him saying, "Hey, we're going to win multiple cups in Florida." That's the kind of attitude that we need on that team. And I don't, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just now thinking about this. I haven't heard anybody on that team with that kind of bravado, that kind of attitude of, we're here to win multiple cups. We're going to win cups. Mostly it's been, well, we want to improve and get better and be a winning team. But I haven't heard anybody.
We've never had a guy come in like this and be, I don't want to use the word braggadocious, but I mean, when have you heard a guy talk about his own swagger? I bring swagger.
Exactly.
And I think he's a guy that can back up what he's saying.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Obviously.
No. Absolutely.
But
so one question, and this alludes to your point, and because I've been thinking about this for a couple of days. And I mean, to me, the only answer to me would be Tkachuk, but maybe not positionally, but leadership wise. In years past, when Barkov got hurt, Huberdeau would just step in and sort of fill that void, right? And one has to assume that void's got to go to Tkachuk now. And Ekblad to some extent.
Yeah, but it's almost a given that Tkachuk's going to have to step up, number one, because he opened his mouth, and number two, we traded a 100-point scorer for a 100-point scorer. So 100-point scorer that we're getting has to produce and
Right,
basically earn his keep. You know,
right.
we lost a fan favorite. We lost, all-time records holder, one of the leaders, and Kachuk has big shoes to fill. And,
Yeah,
he's young, he's determined, from all the games that I've watched, he's perfect for our team. We got
yeah,
a Lombard with a lot of talent.
right,
You know what I mean?
right.
We
Yeah,
all
yeah,
love
yeah.
Lombard for everything that he brings, except
Right,
the fact that he's not a 30-goal scorer.
right.
No, imagine Lombard with not going to say he doesn't have talent, but let's just say, imagine if we had Lombard scoring 30 goals and 30 assists or 50 assists.
Right.
So that's what I'm expecting Kachuk to just, come out like gangbusters. In game one, I put a poll out on Twitter, and I think it was like 80% of the people. The poll was, who's going to score first for their team, Kachuk
Right.
or Huberdeau? And
Oh, yeah.
overwhelmingly, people put Kachuk. So,
Right.
I think more than Huberdeau, Kachuk has a lot more to prove than Huberdeau does in Calgary.
Yep. Yep.
Not to
So
say that Huberdeau is not going to be looked at after losing Gaudreau and Kachuk. I'm
right.
sure the fans are looking at Huberdeau as the savior of the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a different situation like that because we're Kachuk kind of made this happen, right? He was the one that didn't want to be there and wanted to go to Florida. So he's the one that made it all happen. So like you said, he's the one with the pressure. Last thing. What do you got for your points prediction for Barkov?
Good question. I'd like to see him crack the 100 mark.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what did he have last year? 96?
Let me see.
He had 39. I think he had 90. I think he had 39 goals and
he had 88 points in 67 games.
So I'm going to say anywhere from 92 to 100.
Okay.
I think he's going to be in the 90s. I don't know, obviously, until we, see him in the first 10 games and see who he's playing with, what his goal production is going to be like. I would be just happy to see him, feed guys like Huberdeau did and just get a lot of assists. But we also need his scoring. What I'd like to see is an improvement on his power play scoring.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, I'd like to see him get, at least 15 goals on the power play.
Yeah.
20 goals, who knows? But I don't think that he scored enough on, that's an area.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else. His defensive play, we know about that. Face-offs, absolutely. He's been improving every year. That would be good to see him hovering around 60%, between where he's at now, 56 and change and 60%.
Yep.
But the big if, Kachuk does play with him, I would be okay with him giving up the amount of goals he scored to give it to Kachuk. Let Kachuk get 40 goals.
Right.
And I think that's possible. Again, given the excitement and enthusiasm that we've heard from Kachuk, him knowing that the pressure's on him to be the man.
Yeah.
I want to see him step up and be the man.
Yep, I believe he will. For my end of it, I'm torn because there's part of me that really wants to think Barkov's going to have this monster year. But then I thought to myself, if Maurice is preaching defensive responsibility for the forwards, I think Barkov might be the guy to take that a little bit too seriously. And I think you may see him just become a beast on defense. Not that he isn't already really good at it, but I believe that you're going to see him want to step up that part of his game and not be as concerned, especially with the goals. I agree with your point there about, hey, if he wants to become, more assist oriented, if we've got guys on that line, especially if Duclair comes back, you know, that might also be well. I think he could still score 40 goals. I mean, he would have blew past 40 if he was healthy the entire season last year. So, and that was with Duclair getting however many goals he got and playing with, Barkov most of the time there. So, a lot of that's there's so many ifs, ands, or buts because we don't know if Zito makes a move. Zito's got to make a move for Duclair to come back. So we don't know. That plays a lot into where, what kind of numbers Barkov's going to get. I kind of agree with you where, somewhere between, mid 90s to over 100 points. And
if he stays healthy.
If he stays healthy. Right. And I think for my end of it, I think you will see him take the defensive responsibility significantly. Not that he does it already, but I think will be a leader in that department, in terms of the defensive responsibilities of coming back. And we won't see as many, 2-on-1, 3-on-1s back the other way, most likely. Right. That's the assumption we're working under with Maurice. So anything else you got?
Yeah, I mean that you mentioned the word leadership. That's if there's any area where I'd like to see, and I'm not going to say improvement. Let's just say maybe a change from the past. And I know it's not his personality, but I want to see Barkov be more vocal, be more animated,
right?
Be the leader that we all think a leader should be.
Right.
Not the quiet, I want to see him get in a referee's face when they call a stupid penalty. I want that. I want everybody that's watching on television or live, whatever, but I want us to see him get in a referee's face and like, WTF, man. That's
right.
Bullshit. No?
Right. Yep. No, I hear you on that.
It's time now for him to act like a captain and not just, we gave him the captaincy because he's the best player on the ice and he leads by example. That's
right.
There's more to being a captain than that. So
right. Well, we'll see. Anyway. Hopefully he figures out, that's two big pieces with Huberdeau and Uyghur gone out the door. That's two big pieces that he might just get it figured out that way, and look, in life, we all know a lot of times we don't learn the lesson of what we should have learned until something shitty happens to us and we go, oh, maybe I should have been taking care of business a little bit better, and you learn your lesson and you do it. So that's where I'm crossing my fingers on him. That's it. That's what I got.
We talked about Tkachuk stepping up, Ekblad stepping up. The other guy that needs to step up is Barkov.
Yep, absolutely. So, perfect way to put it. All right, guys, we appreciate all the support. Hope you're enjoying these videos. We're getting closer. Don't forget, the Patreon and YouTube member exclusive live stream is on the 12th at 6 o'clock. I'm going to have some content prepared for it. If not, a lot of people are there. Otherwise, it'll be a Q&A type deal. And then it will be available on YouTube after it's recorded. But if you want to be part of it live, links are in the description to the Patreon and the YouTube membership. So that's on the 12th at 6 o'clock. Other than that, Stu and I will be back tomorrow with something, with another player. We'll figure that part out. And we're getting there, guys. We're absolutely getting there. So go wash your jerseys. Get them ready. Because you're only allowed to wash it the one time before the season starts. That's it. If you wash it during the season, you're out. Unless we're really sticking up the joint, then we can, put some fabric softener in there. So, all right, guys, we'll see you.